cheap. Nature. Oh, give it a rest. That's right, you. Hello and welcome to Badger Lodge Garage, and this, my 1966 Morris Minor 1000 four-door saloon. Will you shut up? In this video, I'm changing the timing chain because at the moment it sounds like it's just about a grenade off into the abyss. That's mainly because I've been meaning to change it for about 5 years and haven't. Says a lot about me, really, more than it says about anything else. But this isn't an educational video, this is just me messing around changing the timing chain on this car. So watch it, but don't take it as gospel. Because I guarantee I've missed some things that are important that I didn't bother filming, or missed, or just forgot. I'm putting it on YouTube, so if you're vaguely interested, have a look. Welcome to Badger Lodge Garage. So I'm going to change the timing chain on this. Got to take the whole front off, and I think I'm going to be disturbed all day by that. Ooh, that's not on. So as I was saying, most of the bolts are going to be completely seized on. I've got to take the bumper off, drain the coolant out, and then the whole front should just come away. But it's not going to happen like that. Oh, that's new rust. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, that's fine. I tidied up some of the stuff because it was a mess. I didn't even think about that. And I found a spanner that might fit. It's a 7/8, I think, to get this off. Or, oh yeah. Oh, it's not even seized. Oh, it's a dents as well. Well, it looks like I've driven this through a field, to be honest. Oh, come on. Off you come. Right. Oh yeah, these aren't coming off though. This is. Luckily, actually most of them are missing. So I've only got to try and get 2 off. What are these going to be, 7/16? Yes. Well, that one's, I mean, that's not even doing anything. There's not got, oh, there's no nut on it. Oh no, yes there is. It's just a massively long, it's about 3 inches long. And then it's, oh no. Oh, it's metric. Some animals put metric in this car. It's 10 mil. Crap. Resorting to power tools already. Come on. Oh yeah. 10 mil. Kind of even. Oh, get off! Oh, yeah. I just let the body fall out that doesn't need to be there anymore. That's off there. Take these trim pieces off. This spring. Obviously I haven't drained the coolant out yet. I'm going to do that before I take it off, but I'm going to make a mess basically, so I thought I'd crawl around on the floor first. Ow, ouch! Definitely need some new hardware. Let's try and get this bottom hose off and let all the coolant out. This screw's disgusting. I'm not going to reuse it because it needs changing anyway. You can reuse it if you want to put it in a clean container, but the frequency at which you're doing this, it's probably worth changing it anyway. Oh, there's two. There's two Jubilee clips. What's going on? I must have been leaking. Oh, I'm sure that was me. Is that? Yep, there you go, missed. And that's why I did the floor bit first. Actually, not that dirty. What's this? Oh yeah. Intake for the heater hose, that can come off. Just try using this one. Oh, you're just wasting your time with the wrong screwdriver. There we go. Oh yeah, see how easy life is when you actually bother picking up the right tool. Who'd have thought? Oh, there we go. So, I just spent a million years taking 3 bolts out of these. They actually go through this front panel and into the inner wing, and they're all crispy and tiny, and I spared you that one. So now, technically, the whole front panel should just come off with great ease and no pain whatsoever. Oh, apart from when you've forgotten to undo the bonnet pull. Off you come. Oh. Oh yeah. Just unclip the loom. Ah. Actually not as terrible as I thought it was. Rust wise. Oh yeah. Right. There's actually metal. I thought there'd be more holes, to be honest. So at this point, with the front off, I need to take this little tab, bend it back over, and then we can take the starter dog off. Some people, well, you could if you wanted to, set the engine to top dead center at this point, because obviously we're taking the timing chain off, and this is, with this all still attached, it's slightly easier obviously to turn the engine over to find where you want to be. I'm not going to do that because there are marks on the timing chain and it's not too bad to spin around, so I'm just going to go right away and take this off, and we'll see what happens. We've just got to bend it back over, and then I've got a big gun, and we're just going to see if we can buzz it off. One starter dog. Rebuild that. By that I mean just spray it. I can't, my nose is running as well. That's because it's about 3 degrees out here. Oh, now we're where we want to be. Nice. Pull that off. So I just put a puller on here. I put a little socket up through the middle for this bit to go and push against. And then as I tighten this up, it pushes back and pulls the pulley off, is the theory anyway. Oh, in this case, I might as well have not bothered, because I think a hard enough tug and it would have just come off anyway. Nice. There's even some remnants of an oil seal, which is pretty good going. And what have we got here? Line of bolts. And timing covers off. Marvellous. And we're on 7/16. Oh no, there's another 1/2 inch, of course there is. Right. See what horrors lie beneath. There we go. Oh yeah. Well, there you go. And don't even have to feel that before you realise. I mean, look, that's where the slap's coming from. That's what it sounds like it's just about to explode. I mean, that is, yeah, stretched beyond all recognition, really. Lovely. Right. I've got this oil. Oh, and I've made a mess, naturally. I should have put a drip tray under there, but failed miserably again. Another stain on the drive. Marvellous. So as a bit of view for those of you who are interested, so this is the crankshaft sprocket, and this is the sprocket that drives the camshaft. Now, as you can see, the chain is, I mean, that's just flopping around. That's just, yeah, not good whatsoever. And that, you can hear that chattering away on idle, and as soon as you rev it up, obviously the speed this tries to keep up tightens the chain up and it goes away. And that also can affect the timing eventually, and I think it's started to do that with this, hence the slightly erratic idle. That is also because the carb has got issues that need seeing to, but also it becomes quite hard to tune when your timing chain is stretched so much that your camshaft and your valves aren't quite working in sync with the rest of the engine. So I'm going to take this off, knock that back, undo that nut, and then hopefully this whole lot will slide out in one go. And we've got a new duplex timing chain which is double thick, which is a bit overkill for this. I could have put a direct replacement on this one, but we're not going to do that. We're going to put a double width one on, and hopefully that should stop the rattling for longer because these don't have tensioners. So we'll give that a go. Unfortunately, after the last bits of video, I did a couple more, and the audio was, well, pretty much unlistenable. So as you can see, the new setup is actually on. Looks quite nice, and we've lost all of the. There's only a tiny little bit of flop now, which is how it's meant to be, so it shouldn't chatter around so much. But still, what I did was, as I mentioned, take that off, and the whole lot does slide out. I'm not going to take it off again because I've already torqued that down, if you know what I mean. But when I slid that off, there was two bolts here. You can just see the head of one of the new screws, two bolts, and they stuck out. And what happens is, when you put one of these chains on, those bolts interfere with the back of the chain. So in the kit came two countersunk screws. So with this off, I had to countersink the holes and then put the screw in so it is flush and doesn't interfere with the chain. And there's another one sort of just behind here, and that's okay. They don't interfere. There is a feeler blade width that you can measure, but I'm looking at it and thinking that's plenty or enough anyway. And then all I did was slide these two back on. Now, I think in those videos that you can't see because it's terrible, I did mention about the engine being set to top dead centre, and as you can see, this keyway is not where it's meant to be at the moment, but with this keyway pointing up, the keyway on this behind this nut was pointing at 1 o'clock, and then that gives you a reference of where these two need to be, because in theory you could just take the old lot off and put the new one straight back on. Problem with that being is, if you move one of these by a tooth, or it changes slightly with your new stuff, you've then not got a reference of where your camshaft's meant to be in comparison to your crankshaft. So by setting it as per where the book says, or top dead centre, you've got a reference of where the engine is sitting and how the valve train should be. So then if you do mess it up a little bit, you know roughly where you need to be. So that should always be pointing at 1 o'clock on the keyway, and that should be pointing at 12 o'clock on that keyway round here. You just spin the engine to where you need it. But yeah, I've now got to bend that lock washer over, and then this is ready for the timing cover to go back on. So I've cleaned up the timing cover, put a new gasket on it and a new front oil seal, because that was definitely the original one. It says Mains England, so it's probably been on there since 1966. And then we'll put the timing cover back on. So you can see I've bent the lock tab over so that locks the nut on, so it can't wander off by itself even if it did come loose. And I've cleaned up the timing cover. It's ish anyway, it's better than it was. Mainly on the inside. It's got a brand new oil seal and a brand new gasket. This I've just held on, given it a little wipe over with some well seal, which is this stuff. You can just pick it up in most good motor factors, and it's a gasket jointing compound, and it's a sort of a brown tarry stuff really, and it makes a bit of a mess, but it's quite good. It's better than using RTV or silicone on waterways particularly. it's just, it doesn't really dry, and it doesn't, it's not going to glob up and make big silicon globules if you go too far with it. So you can just, don't need much, just a light smearing around, just to give the gasket something. And it's just a little bit of stickiness really, just to hold it in place, because the gasket's obviously meant to be doing most of the sealing. This is just giving it a helping hand really. So I'll just wipe some of that around there. Don't need much, this is probably way too much. But as I say, it's not the end of the world. And then I've just got a, this is just some the dregs of some EP90 gear oil in this, and I just wipe that around this seal face here before we put it all back together, just so when the pulley goes back on, this is where the sealing face on here is, that goes in here if you like. So it gives it something just to lubricate once you first start it. And yeah, now we'll get this back on. And not forgetting to put the spinner back on, not the spinner, the flinger, I think they call it. Oil flinging spread around a thing. There we go. So I put all the bolts in, they're just twisted in by finger. They're not even particularly tight, the case can still move about, and that's just so I can centre it up around this, because of the movement up and down in there. It's just easier if you then get the this pulley, and I've put a bit of lube around here and on the inside actually, so if we come to take it off again, it hopefully won't seize on. And just seat that there, and now that should have moved the case so it's nice and central on this section, because if you tightened it all up and it was hanging down on one side a little bit, when you try and push it on, you're just going to push the seal up on one corner and it's not going to be quite central. So now that it's like that, I can just tighten up a couple of bolts and it'll hold it. We can take that off again, do the rest of the bolts, and then when we go to put it back on, it'll all be nice and central. So now we put the pulley back on, and it's got its own, wherever I've left it, there it is, lock washer, and of course the starting handle dog. I'm actually going to put a little bit of lube on this as well, just because that's how it was when it came off, just so if we do have to take it off again, it makes life a little bit easier. And of course we'll have to get the torque wrench out again. And I'm not going to go overboard with this because this will take wheels off a truck, so it'll definitely tighten up a crank pulley. So with the timing cover and the pulley back on, we can actually run this now. I have spun it over by hand just to make sure that it does not make any nasty sounds. What I'm going to do now is turn it over on the starter just to make sure it sounds like everything's more like it was before, really. That sounds okay, and there's no funny noises, so we can actually start it up. Obviously not for very long because it's got no radiator, but we'll just make sure it goes before we go and put all the front end back on. There we go. No nasty noises. Running fairly smoothly and without a hideous clattering sound. Not that you've got anything to compare it to really, but we'll just let that run for a little bit and then we'll switch it off, obviously, because there's no cooling. So I'll put the front back on and now I'm going to put some water in it. That'll just let us run it for a little while, get it up to temperature, and we can hear it hopefully running a lot better than it was. So I'll just chuck this in here and we'll see if I can get it in the hole or make a massive mess. This is just deionised water at the moment. I'll get some blue stuff in as well. Oh yeah, some of it's going in. Let's start it up, see what happens. Battery's getting a bit low. Now that's okay, I need to put it on charge. It's been sat since August before now, so the fact that it even started it when I came to bring it here, I'll insert that video, was pretty good actually. It was 6 months sitting. And I must say it does sound a lot better than it did just from a timing chain. Oh, water in the face! Ah. I've not bolted anything up yet, but there you go. Just wait for the thermostat to open and to circulate a little bit. It's just plain, there we go. Just glug the load down. And we'll top it off with a bit more blue antifreeze. Well, there you have it. That was me changing the timing chain on this car. There were things that I didn't say, like I didn't even talk about the 2 dots on the sprockets for the crank and the camshaft. I sort of just neglected to mention that in the video. So as I said, don't take it as gospel, but if you did learn something, that's probably accidental more than anything else. But anyway, thank you for watching.